Alright, this is Inkscape. This is a kind of a freeware open source version of Illustrator. Okay, this is Inkscape, and I'm going to show you how to use the lettering features in it. So I'm going to drag in my raw art, embedded or link. I don't know what the difference is. I'm just going to click OK. I could have done it before, but I wanted to show you. You can drag it in, you can file, import, whatever. And we're waiting, and okay. Alright, it's all loaded in here now, and now I want to see the image border, so I'm going to go to File, Document Properties, or you can hit Shift Control D. Now here we can change our format. So if you want to change it, we go to inches. I want to do a 4x6 because I like to print my stuff out on small photos, and I put it in my little photo booklet as a little mini collage. But here's the awesome thing: you click right here, border on top of drawing, right down here, click that. Now you can see your border down there. Now you drag this over, you start minimizing, hit control and click, and keep dragging until it's in the page. Now let's zoom in here. Okay, the raw art's in there, you got your page formatted. So now let's just center it, and it doesn't. I'm just going to show you how to do it on a little bit of arrangement. Okay, anyway. Alright, so now we're going to start setting up our workstation. So I'm going to select and just kind of get it close to the border. You could click on snap to grid if you wanted to, or snap to border to line it up perfectly, but for this tutorial I'm not going to care right now, so if you want to get too perfectionist on it. Okay, so click on stroke paint, you want to turn that on. Fill, you want to change the color of that to white. And so now you want to go to stroke style, maybe try 4, see if that's thick enough, and zoom in. And if you really wanted to compare, you could drag in some sample art of your favorite comics that you like, because some have thicker borders than I care for, and thicker gutters too. So alright, we'll try this out. Okay, now we're going to drag this into the frame just so we can see the border, and now we're going to duplicate it, so now we can put it on the other side here, and then we can duplicate it again. This time we're going to go down here, we're going to drag this up here, so that way we line this up perfectly with that one. Not that it matters, because all it really matters is this line, because the image isn't going to see anything else. But if you want to be a perfectionist about it, you can do it that way. But when you drag this around, it changes the thickness of it. Something to do with the vector settings. I'm not sure if I could change that or not. Anyway, it doesn't matter, because once you union it at the end, it like makes it fine. So it conforms it all. So now you want to pick your thickness that you want the gutters to be, and you can duplicate that to keep the consistency. And if you wanted to drag on a Blue Line Pro or a Blue Line image of the frame, so you don't have to, you can compare the thickness, that's fine too, but some comics even do it thicker than that, or thinner than that. So we're going to duplicate that. So we're done with the horizontals, let's do the verticals. So that we're going to rotate it. This little button up here rotates it. Click that. Now we're going to line it up here. Drag it up. Want to make sure that's not covering anything up, which is not, so we're good. Duplicate that. We're going to drag it down here. And we're going to do the same for the rest of it. So maybe I'll fast forward this part. I don't know. Same thing though. Duplicate it. Just want to cover up the line, but it doesn't, for this, I'm not going to really be too perfect, but okay. So now let me just show you one other feature on this, which is if you had 2 frames here. Now the reason why I left these, I didn't union it first, is because if you select all 4 of this, you hit shift select, shift select, and shift select, you go over to object, you go to align and distribute, which is also shift control A. Alright, now you have certain options that you can use to line it up. And if you go, this one lines up the front side of the object and the center of the next object with the last side of the last object. So you click that and it instantly makes it so they're all equal. So if you wanted to make an equal like setup, you would do that. So it's a pretty cool feature. You can do the same thing for the horizontals as well. It's one of these options. Just mess around with it and find out. Okay, now this is a point where you would probably want to save, because if you want unity in all your pages, you probably want everything to stand out the same. And I'm covering this guy's head, but I don't care. We're moving on. Alright, so this is the part where you'd want to save, just in case you wanted to re-edit it. I'm not sure how far you would go down in case you wanted to tweak something at the end, but you could, even if you did do it, you can still tweak it a little bit afterwards. So since I didn't have this on a separate layer, I'm going to select everything here, but then I'm going to hit, I think, Control and click it, or Shift and click it off, one of the two. I just want to make sure I'm not selecting this image, so let me try it again. Okay, let me select it, but I just want to mess with the white. I don't want to mess with my art underneath, so I'm going to try and hit Control and click that. See if that did anything. See what it's selected. Nope. Alright, let me try Shift and click it. And that did it. Okay. So Shift and click the image, that way you're only selecting that, or you could have it on a separate layer, which you probably should do. So go to Path and Union, and now it all unioned up like that. Okay, now we're going to go into the balloons. So first you got to have something to say. So I didn't write a script out. Go figure, I didn't plan ahead. But so I'm going to write something real quick. Alright, now you got to tweak the text because it's all trying to be with the border. So we take away the stroke, leave the fill, and you want to download, make it go black. You want to download a good font. You should go to blambot, blambot.com, and one of the ones that are free that look the closest to like something you'd see in traditional comics is Digital Strip 2.0 BB. That one looks good, and it's just a little bit nicer than the Comic Sans. So now I'm going to change the size, which you can do up here. You could type it in, or you could just try. And if you had reference, it's good to use that. That way you know so you don't make the text too big. But I'm going to print this out smaller. So 16 works for me. It might be different for whatever you're doing. So I'm going to just write something. So you want to make sure that you're selected on centered, so it centers it. And then if the text, you should Now you want to try to line this up so it's like, and it would fit in a square, so it's not too far out like that. Like that's kind of square, so that might work. And so if this text is too much space in between, you can change that with this up here. So I like it kind of tight. So all right, if you wanted to bold, the problem with Inkscape is it won't only let you bold or italicize. Although that looked italicized when I clicked that, so that's interesting. All right, well maybe it italicizes when it bolds. I don't know. Let me see if it just bolds. Wow, this is just, you learn something new every day, people. That italicizes. Bold almost looks like it italicizes it. Well, maybe it does. Well, if it doesn't for you, all you have to do to bold something, if you don't want to click on bold, is you just click on the stroke and make it visible, and then you mess with the stroke style until it looks decent. But it might italicize it for you. I don't know. Okay, so now we're gonna put this circle in, the balloon, the bubble, and so we're gonna just start it out. Once again, now we gotta go back, change the fill to white, make the stroke visible, set it to 1.5, whatever, looks good. But now we hit page down, so it goes below, and the problem is you need to add another node on here because it only has a circle and 2 squares. So to do that, you go to path, object to path, and now you have 4 nodes to tweak with. So you can move them up and down. Now, if you look at other comics, you might notice some of them like to have gaps in between, like the Y and that, and the border. But some of them, like Richard Starkings, will actually go all the way up to the close to the border. But other people like Chris Eliopoulos is he makes sure that it looks like he always has like at least a space. Like I try to think of it like if you could fit a letter A there. That's just a reference point. So I'm going to try to tweak it a little bit more, just so I can see if I can get more of a gap. So I'll push it in, and then I'll resize to see if that helps. And I even started naming like the certain bubbles, like a thumbprint or a pickle, or I try to just name the shapes. Anyway, so now that you have this here, now you want to add a speech like balloon, the tails. And so if you look at tails, I've been noticing that it doesn't have to actually point to the mouth. It's a lot more about the flow between the character and the balloon. And so it's kind of a visual cue to, so your eyes go towards the letters first, it goes to the guy, and then the guy towards the letters. And then also more often than not, it tries to go with where the white space is. So I'm just going to click it and go somewhat towards the mouth, but more towards the white space too. And I'm going to make sure that it's at least like I could fit a letter A in there. I don't like them way too thick, and I don't like them way too small. So you got to find a medium. So I just pretend like if I could fit a letter A in between there, that'd be good. And I hit enter, click, 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 and then I just hit enter, and then it automatically connects it. And then you can click on this balloon, then you can union it, and there you go that way. And then if you want to tweak it some more, you can tweak it with, like, by clicking on this mode, edit paths, and then you can make it look like a shark fin. You probably want to do it before you union it, but you can tweak that a little bit more if you like that look. But what I hate is when they go way too thin and you have a line there. That kind of defeats the purpose of the balloon. I see that way too common nowadays, but I'm no expert, so I shouldn't really talk, but that's just my little pet peeves. You gotta find what you like. And so now if I union this with the border here, the problem is it's gonna make the border the same as the balloon. And a lot of other comics that I'm looking at, Savage Dragon mainly, is that it has a thinner line here than the border. And so in order to do that, where you still want the union look, so this cuts into white and gets rid of that, what you want to do is you duplicate the border. And so the back will show through still. So you duplicate the border here, and now it's on top. And so you select the balloon as well. You hit shift and select the balloon, shift and select the top border. Now you can go to object or path, go to union, and I guess I unioned the bottom border, or I selected off, I guess. So let me try to select it again. That's probably what I did. I selected off it. Okay, you got to make sure both those are selected by hitting the shift key. Then you go to path, union again. Let's try that again. There we go. Now it works. And now if you look closely, now if you click on this, the balloon, you can change the thickness of that, and the back border is still going to be thick, and this is going to be thin. And another little extra tweak you can do is you click on the join button. If you look there, it's kind of sharp. If you click on the round, it rounds it off a little bit. You might not be able to tell there, but like over here, well, sometimes you can tell. Okay, if it looks too pointy, sometimes that helps with that. So let's see if I go page up, if that changes anything. Nope. Page down. No. Okay. All right. So there you go. That's kind of the gist of it. So it makes it look a little more professional. And then when you go to export it, another little funky thing about this is that when you go to export, it says export to bitmap, but and you can choose the page to the drawing selection or custom. I would want to click on page, so that way it just goes the frame and it won't show you in the outline there or this out there. And it only saves it as a PNG. So what I do after that is I find the PNG file, I just load it into Paint, and then I save it as a JPEG. That way you can resize it so it doesn't take up as much space. But if you're going to print it or send it to the printers, you obviously want to keep the same size and mess with the resolution here. Or I don't know if you can do that here, probably on the main page. Anyway, so that's the overview on how to letter with the freeware program, and it's a pretty cool tool. Yeah, and if you wanted to tweak it a little bit more with the borders, I mean, I already duplicated that, so that this is probably the bad stage to do that with. But you can still, like, you can select like the nodes, and you can go like move it around. But this is a bad example of that. You'd want to do that before you get to that last stage. So there you go. That's how you letter on. That's a good way to letter using the Inkscape program. So thank you guys.